Hey there! Welcome back to my channel. I wanted to pop on today and do I guess a product review, or maybe not. It's a new product that I've never used before, but I've seen so many people who do mixed media use this, and it's wet strength tissue paper. I am super excited because I know for a long time it was really hard to get. So we're going to try this out on the gel plate today and just see how it works and what we can come up with and how things come out. So let's get into the video. Okay, so I got this wet strength tissue paper. The brand is Yankee. I'm not even sure how to say that brand. I got it on Amazon. It is 27 by 19 inches of wet strength tissue paper for different things: collage, model making, crafts. It says it's resistant to tearing when wet, so that's what I was looking for. They have different packages and different sizes. I just got the one with 100 sheets in it just to try it out, to see if I like it. It is, I think I said 27 by 19, so these are pretty big sheets of tissue paper. So my gel plate that we're going to be using today is an 8 by 10, and so I'll probably cut the tissue paper to where it's a little bit better in size for that. I will also link where I purchased this down below in the description box so that you guys can find it on Amazon. And so let's pull this out. So it looks a little bit more waxy. I'm going to move this out of the way for a little bit more waxy than like normal tissue paper. Maybe that, yeah. So I mean, the size that I got was $21, so 100 sheets for $21. I didn't think that was such a bad deal, so I think we're gonna try out a few of these. It looks like the way it's folded would be perfect for my gel plate, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut these up. I'm just going to do a few. I'm going to go through and do like a bazillion with you, but we'll do some and see how they come out and turn out, and then we'll let some dry and see how they layer with multiple layers on the gel plate. But yeah, this is looking promising. I'm excited. Okay. So let's put this next paper up. And you know, I don't think, from what I see, like the ones that I purchased, they only come in this size. They come in more, they have a 300 and a 500 pack. But I do think that if you look around, there may be other packages that may have different sizes in them, so they may not be just this size. I do want to see how well it tears. Like, I cut these, but I do kind of want to see, does it tear easy? Yeah, that's pretty easy tearing. So I may break out my 5 by 7 gel plate to do these. See how that looks. Don't really have like any plans or anything planned for this. They just came in, so I am opening these for the first time with you guys, and we're just gonna see how they turn out. So let's just start with a blue. Why not, right? And I do have to remember, I tend to be heavy-handed with my paint on my gel plate, so I do have to remember. I want to see like how thick this will still hold up. So this was a pretty thin layer of paint for me anyway, so you guys may be able to get it a little bit thinner than this, but for me that's pretty thin. So and I just have my nothing journal over here that I'm just braring off on, and if you haven't seen that video where I make this and then I do a couple of journal pages, I'll have those videos linked down below as well. Okay, so here is our wet shrink tissue paper. We're just going to lay that down. And I hope I can do it just like I do any other page. So far it's getting everything. Okay, lift it up. Yeah, I mean that lifted pretty well. Lifted pretty good. Okay, so we're going to set these aside. Alright, so I am going to leave this blue there. I'm going to add some primary magenta. So that was primary cyan that I put on first. And these are just, I'm just using tubes of paint that I got from Walmart. So these are the Royal Langnickel Essentials. I got them from Walmart. And then I have an Academy, a Grumbacher that I got from Walmart too. So I'm not using like super expensive, super crazy paint. It's just I picked it up at Walmart. They were having a sale and I was like, oh, these will be perfect for the gel plate. Okay, so let's try one more. I do want to grab some stencils and see how well it prints with the stencil. They seem to crinkle up a little bit, but I think that may just because it's a tissue paper, but that's fine because, you know, it makes some interesting textures on the paper. So that's pretty cool. Oh yeah, I like this. So we pulled up the ghost print with the blue, and then now we have the ghost print of the blue, and then we have the magenta on top of that. And we still have some good grunginess on our plate. So I'm going to grab some stencils, and then we're going to see how good the wet shrink tissue does with the stencils. Okay, so I have a few different stencil options, ideas. I have some spiders because I like creepy things, and spiders are pretty cool, creepy. I have some masks that I purchased from another creator. I will link these. I will put the link to these in the description box below to her website where I purchased these, and they're masks. They're not. So they're basically, when you take a stencil, it's the inside that's cut out. That's what these are. So these are, there's no like outside part. So they're just the mask. And then I just have some letter stencils. We're just gonna put on there, and I need to make sure I turn them around so that they are not facing the wrong direction. So always remember that when you're putting words or letters or anything with writing on your gel plate, you want to turn it upside down so that when you pull the print and you turn it over, it'll be right side. You will be able to read it. It won't be backwards. I have made that mistake a few times before. It hasn't made that much of a difference, but And just if you are trying to get words, make sure you put them upside down on your gel plate. Okay, so, and I'm going to leave this on just how it is because I want the extra texture and the extra colors. Okay, so I think I'm going to start with the letters. Let's put down some red. And this is naphthalene carmine. I have no idea if I'm saying that right. I just make it up as I go. So I'm going to put a little bit down on here. Roll it out. And you want to make sure that you're actually like fully covering your gel plate. And I like to use papers that are either the exact same size of my gel plate or they're just a little bit bigger, so that way I get the full get everything on there. I tend to not use stuff that is like smaller. Okay, so we're going to do two things. We're going to put this down, and then we're going to use this to lift that print. Put this down, and we're going to do what we can to smooth it inside these letters. Pick up that paint. And I have no idea what is on, like what letters are on here. This is just letter stencil. I pulled out the first one that was on top. So, and we'll do what we can to get the letters, or to get in those grooves. Okay. Got that. So now we're going to pull that up. And that's pretty neat. Those are some pretty neat letters. Okay, now we're gonna move our stencil. Pick up our stencil, and we should just have the letters left. Do another, and pull the ghost print of those letters off of here. That is pretty cool. And so far, it's standing up. It's not buckling. It's not pulling, ripping, tearing, anything like that. So that is pretty awesome. Okay, so I think, and again, I don't clean in between. I just let it go. And you know, if you don't like all this extra bits, you don't have to have that. You can clean it in between if you like. So I think I'm going to use this one, and I'm going to put, so I'm going to do two things. We're going to do a second layer on here. So we're going to use these masks that I got from the other creators website, and again, I will make sure these are linked below because they are awesome. So I'm going to put these down, see if I can get them. So I can get both of them fully on the plate. And that they're not touching. Okay, awesome. I'm going to use, this is just gold. I'm going to put some of that, that down. And put that over my stencils. Some nice covered. Okay, so So with these being masked, sorry, I'm not going to take a print like this. I'm just going to, actually, you know what? I think I will see how that does. So I'm going to stick them together here. So I'm going to do that on my blue we did earlier. And I did not line that up properly, but that's okay. Okay. Hold that up. Oh, that's pretty awesome. And so my stencil had some, or my mask had some paint on it from the last time I used it, and that came off, and that looks pretty cool to me. I like that, and I like the different textures in this. That's pretty awesome. Okay, so now we're going to find my little tweezer things. It's easier to pick it up. Pick up the mask off the plate. Them up. So I am going to let this fully dry. It's going to be fully dried because then now I'm going to put another color on top to pull everything off with. And then we're going to do it on our pink and blue paper here. And I think I'm going to do maybe a silver. That might look pretty good on there, a silver. So we're going to let this dry for a few minutes, and then we'll pull that. Okay, so this is pretty much dry. I am a little bit impatient, so I did blast it with a little bit of heat to dry it. Not too much, and don't get too close because you don't want to melt or ruin your plate, but you can, you know, blast it with a little hot air for a couple of seconds. So now I'm going to put down my silver. Out, and you want to make sure it covers everything because it won't pull up if you don't cover it. It will not pull up the paint underneath because there's nothing for it to stick to. So because you need that resistance. All right, so got that, and we did a very thin layer because I still want my background layer to show through too, and all of them pretty colors in there. So this time I'm going to try to line it up perfectly. Probably will not, but we're going to try our best to get it a little bit closer to the actual. Okay, so I did a little bit better, but still not lined up perfectly. It's alright. They do make these edges to where you can line up your paper. I don't really care about all that. Okay, so now we're going to let this dry completely so that it pulls everything with it. And I want to see how well the wet strength tissue paper holds up to when it's completely dry, if it will tear. Because so far we've just been putting it down, pulling it right back up, and the layers haven't been drying in between, and it hasn't been trying to pick up a lot of stuff off of the plate. So we're going to see how well that does. So we're going to give that a few minutes to dry, and we will come back and see how well that picks up. Okay, so we let this dry, and now we're going to pull it back up. And you may be saying, well, how do you know it's dry? I really don't. I just go based off of feeling, and I feel, does it still kind of feel cold, or does it still feel damp? I mean, you can tell when you're feeling it. If it still feels cold, then most of the time it is still wet. This doesn't feel damp, it doesn't feel cold, and the color has kind of it's not so bright now. on the back, so that's also a key indicator. So it looked more pink, darker, and so now it's lightened up, so that's more another indicator that this is dry. But it's really just trial and error unless you leave it overnight. I don't have the patience right now to do that. I'm just wanting to try these out, so I just kind of left it. I think I left it for maybe 2 minutes. So we're gonna see how well that works. All right, so here's the test. If this will tear. All right. So it's not tearing, and it picked everything up off of that paper. So it picked up the stuff that was there before, it picked up the masks, it picked up, so now there's gold, there's all different colors, the reds in there. So that was pretty awesome that it was able to pick everything up off of the plate. So I really like that. And I mean, it has where the wrinkles were is what's left on here, and that's fine. That's pretty awesome. So I'm gonna do those spiders. I want to get out my 5x7 plate, so we're gonna move this over, and then pull out my 5x7. So I have this is just how I store mine is I just put them on, and I don't usually clean them or anything. So this is cardstock, just white cardstock, and that's how I store them. So I put it on, and that way when I'm done, I just snap these on and they're good to go. Okay, so let's do a base coat. What should we do? Let's do the raw sienna because we haven't done that yet. It's just gonna be just a layer to get the plate back in action. That I tore earlier, and I'm not going to let these dry. I'm not going to let this dry. I'm just going to put it down, pull it back up. Okay. Awesome. And now I'm going to do it one more time. There. Awesome. And that was just to kind of make sure what's left on there is dry. So I'm going to put my spiders, let's do them this way so the spider is fully on there. I think I'm going to do some green. I think that would be kind of cool, green spiders. And this is sap green, so, and it says it's opaque. Okay, so as you can see, I put a lot on there. Alright. Okay, like I said, I'm going to pull the print. And then we'll pull the ghost print. So I'm going to pull the print. I'm going to pull this with this one. Just to where it's just left the spiders on there. And it's okay because I using collage, so I'm okay with like the square. So like this doesn't fully, it's not 5x7, it's a 4x4 or 6x6, something like that. Yeah, 4x4, I think. Okay, so let's pull that off. Oof. Alright. So it did kind of tear a little bit on the actual stencil itself, but not on the plate. So I think that's pretty cool. Now we're going to pull the stencil up off the plate. Alright, and then we're going to let this dry before we pull this print. And we'll put down a layer of, I'm not sure. I'll have to think about what layer we want for that. So we'll let this dry and we'll come back and do that. Okay, so let this dry, and I just kind of touch the edges just to make sure it's fully dry. I'm going to use some craft paint. It's just Apple Barrel craft paint in black. And this is a little bit more runny than the other paints, so I may not need as much. Again, I am pretty heavy-handed, so I may still have put too much. But I do just want to make sure everything is covered. On here. So let's pull up everything. Alright. Now we're going to use the one we did before. It is pretty dry. That is the other thing I want to mention. And I got paint all over. When you're doing layers, you want to make sure your pages are dry before you're doing another layer. This one is pretty fairly dry. So we're going to just line this up as best we can. And then we're also going to wait for this to dry as well before we pull it. And I just kind of rub it on, like rub on there just until it gets fully covered. And so we're going to let that dry and come back and pull it and see how it does. Okay, so we let this dry. And we're going to pull it up and see what we get. And see, I don't think I let this dry enough because it's still leaving a lot on the plate. It still did kind of come out, but I don't think I let it dry enough. So we're gonna. So then now I have this, which is fine. It's still kind of. It's not coming up, and it may be my gel plate because my gel plate is kind of sticky. And I don't know how that happened, but I'm going to just finish up the last pages, and then we'll come back and look at all of the ones that we did at the end, and I'll give you my thoughts on what I liked about these, and so we'll be back. So I wanted to hop back on and just, I guess, go through the prints we made with the wet shrink tissue. I did some more off camera, so some of these are not fully dry and sticky, but that's okay. So here's one we did on the 5x7, and it was with the spider stencil. This is the one on the stencil. It tore a little bit, so around the spiders is kind of, it tore the paper a little bit, but you know, that's a cool texture, so I'm okay with it. These are more just kind of pulling up what was on the gel plate, so you can see the spiders where we were taking the ghost print. We try to do it with the black, and I think the craft paint doesn't really work as well for me on the gel plate. It might work better for you, or for other people, but I like the thicker paint on here, because craft paint is a little bit thin and watery, and it doesn't, for how I use my gel plate, it doesn't really work as well for me. I do like this grungy plate cleaning one that I did with the gold and what was left over from the black and the green from doing the spider stencil. So I really like that. And these are not fully dry. So put those aside so they can dry. And this one was just another, just trying to, so I used the stamp on this one, and you can't really tell, it didn't really pull the stamp very well on here, but I still think this looks pretty good. It's kind of grungy, and I like the grungy, and I had accidentally gotten this stuck on the plate when I was putting some paper on. I have my fan on, so these are kind of glowing, so I think that looks pretty cool. So this was one I did with the mask, and I did, so originally, so this is 2 layers, so originally I just did a layer of blue, and then I put the mask down on the plate, and then I pulled it with gold, so this red is what paint I had on my mask from before when I used it, so I really like this. I like how the gold, it just kind of looks embossed almost on the blue, so I really like that one. And this was I was trying to do a couple of things. So I was taking the ghost print of this one, so this was with the masks on the plate, and then this is the one with the mask after I peeled the mask off the plate, and then I pulled it with the silver, and it pulled everything. So I had originally 2 layers on here. There was, or 1 layer, there was the pink, the magenta, that had some of the blue left over from here, so it was kind of a blue and magenta, or cyan and magenta color. And then I pulled the gold, so the gold was the ghost print on here, so I pulled the masks off, and then I pulled it with silver, and it pulled some of the stuff that was already down. One thing to note when you're doing gel prints, the color that is on the bottom will be what is on the top. So the gold here is what is showing as the first, because that was the ghost print, and then you see the silver, but all of this blue and red here was from, it was already on the plate, and so that's what's on the top. I still like it. I like all of the grunginess of it, and the different, where the paper crinkled, so I like that. I did this one was off camera, so I will say it does rip if you have, so my ring, I was rubbing it and I ripped it with my ring, but it's not a huge deal. So this one I used stamps again. This is originally I did the letter stencil on here. You don't really see any of that. So then I put the blue down, I did the stamps, and then I put gold on top, and I did some more of the different stamps, but you can't really see those. I don't see the flowers in here. Well, I see them a little bit. They're just a little bit showing, so the flower layer didn't really pull through very well, but that's okay. And then I pulled it with a red, since I was using a red background, so then I pulled it with the red again, and I really like this. I think this looks pretty neat with all the crinkles and it looks like it's layered up with the hearts, and that was really just the same layer. It was just the ones on the bottom, the paint was still wet. The ones that are on the top that are more gold, the paint was drying, so more of the paint pulled off with the stamp. This one was another one that was a stamp done. So I just did a base layer of the magenta, then I put a very, very thin layer of the gold, and I used my writing stamp, and I stamped it all over. And this one, I know I mentioned that if you're going to put words on them, make sure they're upside down. Well, this is a stamp, you can't really do that, but it's not a big deal because you can't really even tell what's written on there. It just, you can tell there's words. So that's really what I was going for. So I really like this and the grungy look of it and the shiny gold on there. And this was just basically, I was trying different things, and just, it was not pulling up. So I did a base layer. So there's 3 or 4 layers on here, and it just did not pull the way I wanted it to. So I did a base layer of the raw sienna, and then I did my stamp, and I did a very light green over it, let that dry, then I did some red, and I put that on there, and then I tried to make some marks in it, and then I pulled it, but nothing really came through but the crinkles. So sometimes that's how it works. Sometimes, that's the joy of gel painting. And then this was just to show how well I could get into the stencil. So this is the letter stencil. So I really, really like these wet shrink tissue papers for the gel printing. My next test for them will be to actually create a journal page with some of these and see how well they hold up. So be sure to stick around and watch out for that video. So thank you for joining me today and going through these wet shrink tissue papers with me. And I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And if you want to see more videos from me, be sure to hit the little bell icon so you'll be notified. As always, have an amazing day and stay creative.